for the computer. Okay, hello everyone. This is the libp2p weekly sync meeting, April 15 or 16, depending on where you are. I just get the crypt pad open and I'll post the link if people don't have it. All right, if you don't have the crypt pad, here it is in the chat for Zoom. Okay, so I'll be moderator. Does anyone want to take notes?
I would volunteer, but I'm having some net issues, so maybe not this time.
Okay, all right. Well, you have the hook. Any other volunteers? I can try. I can also try to take notes if no one is willing to do it.
I can take notes if necessary.
Okay, all right. We'll take it, John. We'll take it. All right, I'll put you in. Recording link I will add later. So the only thing we have on the agenda are the oh, we should change this to weekly updates. Yeah, so the only thing we have on the agenda are weekly updates. Is there anything? Well, if there's something else you want to add to the agenda, do it as a background task, and we'll run through the weekly updates, and then we can come back to it, or else end the meeting. Okay, so I'm just going to go in the order that they're in here. Anna Collins, you're at. Oh, you look unfinished. I can't tell. You want me to come back to you?
No, I can start.
Okay, go ahead.
I've just been experimenting with keeping a work log, so I've put everything in a gist. I guess I'll start with what I'm blocked on. I'm still waiting for functional gauges to be supported in open sensors. That'll make a lot of stuff a lot easier to do, particularly around the routing table and some other things that I want to start having metrics for. And I'm stuck on trying to view last week's meeting. I guess we'll sort that out of band though. I'm currently working on open sensors tracing, and I'm using it. I'm just experimenting with it essentially. How to get in various places. I'm hoping in particular debugging stream pooling stuff, and the other one that would be interesting is that there's an issue about provides taking a very long time. I think tracing would be very insightful there. So I'm working towards that. And then things that I've done recently, I've spoken to several people from Filecoin who had a lot of DHT questions. Those were very productive conversations. Reviewed a few metrics related PRs, and we've merged one into the DHT with some basic stuff to get started. What else? I've started spinning up a few IPFS daemons in Australia. Just experimenting with them, tracking metrics on them, see how they go. Just running them on VPS and that kind of thing. So that's mostly what I've been doing.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's keep going through the updates, and then okay. So the next one is Jacob. He's not here. It's the middle of the night for him. So I'll just let people read this themselves. If you're watching the video, you can find it in the libp2p/pm repo issue number, what is it, 11, I think. Oh, sorry, no, it's not an issue. It'll be a PR, a merged PR with today's link, today's notes. Okay, the next person is me. So yeah, so I wrote up all the performance reviews. Now I have to write the summaries, which is more work than I realized. The security audit is also of Go libp2p is also starting this week, or sorry, it's technically starting next week, but this is the week where I gather a bunch of background materials and send them over to the auditors so that they have some context. So I'm working on pulling that together. And those are the two. I think those are the two main things I'm working on for the project. I would. There's some of us are going to Berlin for a conference in May, and I want to see if we can do a libp2p meetup. But I'm also not sure I have a lot of bandwidth between security audit and all the other loose ends I have. So I'm trying to. I have this idea generally that we should try to whenever a critical mass of people are going to go to be in one city at the same time, we should just try to do libp2p meetups. So I'm trying to see if we can make that happen in time for Berlin. Okay.
Is that Data Terra Nemo?
Yeah.
Oh, I kind of forgot that was happening again. Let's talk afterward.
Okay, sure. I can talk to you. Yeah. I do think it's sold out, but let's come back to it afterward.
Okay.
Okay, so Vasco is next. Also, middle of the night for him. So I'm just gonna let people read the notes. Okay, John, you're next.
All right. So last week I was looking at libp2p and the APIs and data structures behind the swarm and the host. And this week, and I was giving some thoughts to what do we actually need to handle messages in addition to streams? In particular, sort of the ultimate goal of messages is to be as stateless as possible, but there's various places you need state, like where you're doing encryption, and if we have different names for protocols across sessions, we need some notion of sessions. So the question is, what does this look like, and can I come up with something that handles both streams and messages well? So I've been trying to propose something for that. This week I need to talk to Stephen, and I think it was Yusuf who was interested in this architecture. So I'm going to talk to him, to set up meetings. And I also want to understand what our goals are with Relay and kind of how it got architected the way it is. So I want to talk to Vizo about that as well.
One question, are these messages supposed to be reliable or unreliable?
Unreliable, at least initially. But I think that's a great question of how I'm thinking, when I'm thinking messages, I'm thinking something based on UDP initially, but then there's the question of what do we want to be able to layer on top of that to get, for example, reliable messages? So that's a good question.
Yeah, we should probably talk, because in Quick there's currently a message proposal that adds unreliable messages on top of Quick, and which would give us encryption and all the nice features of Quick. So we should probably talk about that sometime.
Okay, let's do that. My other question, actually related to that, since this came up, I'm really curious about thoughts on using encryption in these protocols versus something on top. Obviously, from point of not re-implementing things and not having crypto bugs, clearly it's nice to use existing features, but I'm thinking in terms of if we're relaying, what does that look like? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, because you really want more end-to-end encryption, for example, right?
So for me, I would actually like to expose Relay before encryption, just as an option where users can choose which one they want. But that's going to require some refactors.
What do you mean by Relay before encryption?
Where, well, it's hard to do. No, I take that back. There's just no way of doing it, honestly.
Do you mean
I mean, like under, like.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
That's what I think we should do too. But the problem is that just means we can't rely on encryption as part of an existing protocol.
Well, so ideally, this should all be layered with multi-stream. So like you negotiate something, you negotiate next thing, negotiate next thing. If you have a transport automatically encrypts, whatever. But what we could do is expose certain services on transports that don't automatically encrypt before the encryption layer. The problem with this is like if you do anything at this layer, it gets really dangerous because now like any control message are out in the open, anyone can mess these control messages, and people will start messing with them just because they're trying to be nice. Like, if they're nice or not nice, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're still going to mess with them and do things you don't want them to do, which is really why everyone's moved to just say encrypt everything. We don't care. It doesn't cost that much. The biggest cost actually in encryption is negotiation at the very beginning with RSA for us. The actual encryption of the stream is like pretty much free. So doing a link layer encryption and then like an end-to-end encryption is probably fine in most cases. But,
okay. I mean, that seems to me the most practical way forward, but we should set up a meeting to talk about this.
Yes, and if you'd also like to discuss packet relay versus circuit relay, we found some limitations of circuit relay.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Let's cut this off for right now, but let's schedule a time this week. I think Yusuf was interested in some of this too. Okay, that's it for me.
Okay, Martin. John, I took notes for you.
Thanks.
Now I'll pass the baton back to you. Okay, Martin, you're muted.
Okay. So I'll start with what I'm doing next. Next on my plate is dealing with multi-stream 2.0 to finish the spec and to write an implementation for that. And I think I'll start with it this week. In the last 2 weeks, I worked a lot on quick tracing. I added support for the quick trace tool to my quick implementation, and immediately found a few bugs with that and fixed them, and merged all the changes for the next IPFS release. So quick support will be a lot faster, like a factor of 2 or something.
Nice.
And I continued working with the key update design team in the quick working group. There's one area of the spec that's not really clear at the moment, and we are precisely defining when you're dropping old generations of keys. I could demo the quick trace if you want to. I have 2 traces here that might be interesting, just so people can see what quick trace is all about.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah.
Let me see, how do we do this? Can you see anything?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So this is quick trace. It's written by Google. It's basically a log file format and an OpenGL based renderer. What you see here in blue is packets being sent out, and you get all kinds of metadata here. You see which stream frames are in a packet. So you can see here we are sending out a bunch of packets, and then in green we see 100 milliseconds later, because the RTT on this connection is 100 milliseconds. We get an ACK for those packets, and it's all nicely plotted here. So when you look at it, this was one of the first traces I got out of quick trace, and what you immediately see that things are going wrong here. What we are supposed to do is send out all the packets spaced out over the RTT. So we kind of wanted to have a smooth line here, but we are sending out all the packets basically at one bunch, waiting 100 milliseconds for the ACK, and then sending another bunch of packets. So that was the first bug I fixed. So now the pacing rate takes care that we send out packets continuously.
Quick question. Shouldn't we just be increasing the window such they're always sending or receiving packets, or is that not? Or do we just slow down our send rate?
So you're increasing the congestion window every time you get an ACK. But what you want to put less strain on the network is you want to space out the whole congestion window that you have at that moment over the RTT.
Got it. Okay, so that way, like, if you have congestion, you got it. Yeah. Otherwise, you're basically
because otherwise, if there are like small buffers in between, and you send a whole congestion window at the same time,
you might keep lowering your congestion window.
Those buffers get packet loss at the tail, and then
I see.
Congestion window will drop. So I have a second trace. I think my screen is not shared anymore.
Yeah, I think we lost your screen, but yeah. Okay, there it is.
So let me zoom in. Okay, so this is after I fixed the bug, and you can see like things are going a lot smoother here. What I'm having here is a connection with a 20 millisecond RTT and a fixed bandwidth. And so you can see like we are sending out data, we're getting an ACKs, we're increasing the congestion window, and then something happens here. Let me zoom in. So in red are packets that are lost. And this is exactly how congestion control should work. So what you do is you send more and more data into the network until packet loss happens. And then when packet loss happens, you stop increasing your congestion window, you reduce it a bit, and keep sending at that rate. And by doing this, you find out what the bandwidth available is. And this is what we are doing here. So we see like there's packet loss occurring. We are not increasing the congestion window anymore, and Quick is finding the bandwidth of that connection and then continuously sending with that bandwidth. So this quick trace, I find it really cool. It's super helpful to debug what's going on. If you can see it plotted like this, and there will probably be a few other bugs that I find. But the ones that I already fixed, the one with the pacing rate, it already gives a speed of like a factor of 2 on most connections. So that's a pretty big deal.
This is really cool. So if you zoom in the top right, there shouldn't be any red anymore unless the characteristics of the connection change. Is that right?
Well, you continuously the congestion control continuously probes the network, so you'll have some loss from time to time, but it will be very little loss.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, that's yeah.
There's basically no loss going on anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I understand. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. How do I? Okay.
You mentioned a Multistream 2.0 spec. Is this a new one that I can see?
Excuse me?
I believe you talked about Multistream 2.0, right?
Yeah, but I said it's next. I haven't started yet.
Okay, sorry. I thought you said you finished it. You could go implement it. Okay.
Well, we should probably talk sometime.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you guys and Raul should all talk because I think you have different conversations going on, like bilaterally, sort of. So, yeah. Okay, those are all the updates. Yeah, I don't know. Does anyone have anything else they want to discuss, or do you guys want to call it a day? All right, thumbs up. I don't hear anybody saying they have more topics, so I'm going to call it. Okay, well, thanks everyone for coming, and you'll see this video. It'll probably take me, I don't know, half an hour or something, but it'll be up. And yes, John, I'm hoping you can figure out, John or Anacrolix, maybe one of you guys can figure out with Cole what happened to the old last week's video. I think it probably didn't get pinned, but that's just a wild guess. Okay, bye.